Okay, get ready for this one, because today we're going to be going deep into a story that's really about love, loss, and figuring out how to pick up the pieces after things fall apart. We're going to be looking at the life of Cody, a remarkable individual who's running multiple businesses while facing incredibly tough personal challenges.
Yeah, what's striking about Cody's case is the way her hardship letter, financial documents, and psychological assessments all combine to tell a powerful story of resilience and overcoming adversity.
Cody's letter, it's like reading an open wound. It lays bare the depth of her love for Joel and the agonizing pain of his absence.
It's deeper than just a love story, though, right? Their relationship seems to be so intertwined with every part of Cody's life, her emotional well being, her business ventures, everything.
Exactly. Cody herself describes their relationship as a haven amidst chaos, using her own words. They first met back in June 2015, and according to Cody, there was an instant connection between them. However, it wasn't all easy going. Cody mentions past relationship traumas that held her back from fully opening up.
Oh, that's so relatable, right? It can be really tough to trust again after past heartbreaks, even when you meet someone who seems perfect.
Totally. And it makes you think, how much are those past hurts intensifying the pain Cody's feeling now because of Joel's deportation?
That's a really insightful point. It wasn't just a romantic relationship, right? Joel was also a partner in Cody's businesses, and in Cody's words, the one who handled their finances. His deportation wasn't just a blow to her heart, it turned her whole world upside down, practically speaking.
Absolutely. And to add to all that, Cody's now facing the possibility of losing their home. She states in her letter that she needs $14,000 just to catch up on the mortgage payments, utilities, and property taxes.
It's almost as if the looming financial crisis is a reflection of her inner turmoil. Losing their home would feel like losing another part of Joel.
It's just heartbreaking. Reading her words, it seems like Cody might be blaming herself, wondering if she'd been less cautious in the beginning, if things would be different now.
That's a normal reaction to loss, feeling guilty and asking, what if? It's like trying to regain a little control in a situation that feels completely overwhelming.
It makes you reflect on the little things that make up a life together. The inside jokes, the everyday routines, even something as simple as knowing how someone takes their coffee. Losing all of that suddenly must be devastating.
Yeah, it's as if a piece of her world has been ripped away, leaving this gaping hole.
And through all of this, she's desperately trying to hold it all together. Running her businesses, seeking financial help online, even selling off her belongings.
There's a line in her hardship letter that really got to me. She says, I feel like I'm drowning. It captures that feeling of being completely overwhelmed, struggling to stay afloat amidst a sea of emotions and practical problems.
It's so powerful, and it makes you realize how much we take for granted just having a loved one around. They give us a sense of stability and well-being, even if we don't always recognize it.
Exactly. Joel being deported wasn't just a legal matter. It was a life-altering event that shattered Cody's world. And now the consequences of that trauma are rippling out. Her finances, her mental health, her whole life is affected.
It really puts a human face on these policy decisions. It reminds us that behind all the headlines and legal jargon, there are real people, real relationships, and real lives being torn apart.
You're absolutely right. And tragically, Cody's story is not unique. There are so many others out there facing similar struggles, their lives disrupted by events they have no control over.
I'm just amazed by Cody's strength to keep going, to keep fighting for her business and her home while going through so much grief and uncertainty.
It says a lot about her resilience, her drive to build a future, even when it feels like her past is collapsing. But the big question is, how long can she keep this up? At what point does that strength become unsustainable?
That's the big question, and one we need to explore as we delve deeper into Cody's world.
Absolutely. As we move forward, let's remember the emotional toll of Joel's deportation on Cody. It's an undercurrent running through every aspect of what she's facing.
Sure. Because getting to know Cody's story isn't just about numbers and business strategies. It's about acknowledging the very real human vulnerability at the heart of it all.
You're absolutely right. And it's that vulnerability, that capacity for love and loss that makes Cody's story so relatable, so fundamentally human.
Okay, so let's shift our focus to the specifics of Cody's businesses. The documents we have show a major restructuring of one company and the launch of a brand new one, specifically aimed at supporting the Spanish-speaking community.
Isn't that interesting? Right in the middle of all this personal turmoil, Cody's putting energy into both survival and service. It's like she's trying to build a life raft while also reaching out to help others who are struggling.
It's inspiring, but it also makes you wonder, Is it sustainable? Can she really pull herself out of this financial hole while pouring so much of herself into helping others?
That's the million-dollar question. To get some answers, we need to look closer at these businesses, see if they have the potential for success, and consider the role of Cody's ADHD in her decision-making.
Let's dive in and see what we can find.
All right, let's start with ISA Innovatax Solutions. It looks like Cody co-founded this company and was the CFO. But in the midst of all this upheaval, she's restructuring the company, removing a partner named Crystal Varela, and changing the roles and responsibilities for the remaining partners.
It's a bold move, especially considering all the other things she's juggling. Is this restructuring a last-ditch effort to save the business? Or is it a strategic decision to streamline operations and improve profitability?
It's hard to say for sure without more context, but what's interesting is that even in this high-level financial management company, you can see Cody's dedication to helping others shine through.
How so?
Well, their business plan emphasizes personalized, culturally sensitive, and bilingual services tailored to meet the specific needs of immigrant communities. It's as if even in the corporate world, she's drawn to helping those who are often marginalized or overlooked.
That's a very insightful observation. It shows that Cody's desire to help others isn't just some personal quirk. It's a core value that influences every part of her life.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if that same drive is what led her to start Servicios Rice Velasquez, her new venture focused on providing a wide range of services to the Spanish-speaking community.
Let's talk about that. From what we've gathered, it's kind of a one-stop shop for navigating life in America. Things like tax services, accounting, legal aid, even BMV support.
It's a brilliant idea, especially with all the language barriers and bureaucratic hurdles that many immigrants have to face. And what's impressive is Cody's hands-on approach.
We see her going above and beyond to explain complex legal concepts to her clients, making sure they truly understand what they're signing.
It's clear she's not just after profit. There's a genuine desire to empower people, to give them a sense of security and understanding.
It's like she's trying to create that same haven for others that she found with Joel, a safe space where people feel supported and understood.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It really speaks to Cody's empathy and resilience. Even when she's hurting so much herself, she's reaching out to help others find their footing.
It's truly inspiring, but also a bit concerning. With her ADHD and all the financial strain she's under, can she really handle the demands of two businesses? Especially one that depends so heavily on personal interaction and paying attention to details.
That's where things get complicated. To fully grasp the risks and rewards of Cody's ventures, we need to look more closely at how her ADHD works.
Okay, let's break that down. It's not just about being forgetful or messy, right?
Yeah.
It's a neurological condition that affects her executive function, her ability to plan, prioritize, and control impulses.
Exactly. And remember, one of the doctors was actually shocked by how severe Cody's ADHD is, saying that someone with her score should barely be able to function in society.
Wow, that's a pretty serious statement. It makes you wonder how she manages to function at all, let alone run multiple businesses.
Well, and this is what's so fascinating about ADHD. It's not all negative. People with ADHD often have this incredible ability to hyper-focus on tasks that truly interest them.
So you think that intense focus we see in Cody's work, her ability to spend hours and hours on a project,
Right.
could be related to her ADHD?
Absolutely. It's like her brain locks onto something and she can just power through it with an intensity most people can only dream of.
But that's only one side of it, right? What about the downsides, the things that might be causing problems for her?
Well, that's the flip side. ADHD can make it really difficult to stay focused on tasks that are less exciting, things like bookkeeping or paying bills on time. And for someone like Cody, who's juggling multiple businesses and personal responsibilities, these challenges can become overwhelming.
It's like having a Ferrari engine with faulty brakes. You've got all that power, but controlling it is the challenge. And for someone like Cody, juggling multiple businesses and personal responsibilities, these executive functioning challenges can become overwhelming.
Exactly. The power is there, but controlling it can be a challenge. And when you add in the financial strain she's already under, it's a recipe for potential disaster.
It's like when we look at her financial records, they paint a picture of someone struggling to keep up with payments, relying on credit cards and assistance programs just to stay afloat.
You're exactly right. And while some of these financial struggles are definitely due to external factors like Joel's deportation and the business restructuring, it's important to consider how ADHD might be playing a role as well.
So you're thinking some of her financial decisions might be impulsive, driven by a need for immediate gratification rather than long-term planning.
It's definitely a possibility. People with ADHD often have difficulty with what's called temporal discounting, meaning they tend to prioritize immediate rewards over future consequences.
Okay, so basically, it's about living in the now and not worrying too much about what might happen down the road.
Pretty much, yes. And while that can be liberating in some ways, it can also lead to decisions that make it hard to stay financially stable.
It makes me think about the potential clash between Cody's big heart and her ADHD. She genuinely wants to help everyone, but her impulsivity might be getting in the way of her actually doing so in a sustainable way.
That's a very sharp observation. It's like her compassion is running full speed ahead, but her brain isn't always equipped to handle the practicalities of making it all work.
It makes you wonder if, with the right kind of support and strategies, Cody could harness the strengths of her ADHD while minimizing the potential downsides. But maybe that's a question for another time.
Yeah, you're right. We've already covered a lot of ground. We've talked about Coda's past, the depth of her love for Joel, the impact of his deportation, and the complexities of her ADHD. But there's another layer to this story, one that takes us into a different realm than our usual deep dives.
You're talking about Cody's spiritual experiences, right?
Yeah.
The shadow people, the grays, the guardian angels. It adds a whole other dimension to her world.
It does, and it's a dimension we can't ignore if we really want to understand Cody and the forces that shape her life.
Well, then buckle up, everyone, because in part 2, we're going to explore the intersection of spirituality, trauma, and resilience in Cody's remarkable and often perplexing journey. Okay, so we've been talking about Cody's deep love for Joel, the devastating impact of his deportation, and the complexities of living with ADHD. But now things are about to get a little more, well, mystical.
Yeah, it's really interesting that for Cody, these spiritual experiences aren't just some random thing, they're a core part of her life.
And we're not talking about some vague sense of spirituality here. Cody's written pages and pages describing encounters with shadow people, grays, even guardian angels.
It's as if she's living in a world where the line between what's real and what's not is super blurry.
I have to admit, reading her account sent shivers down my spine. It's so vivid and detailed, you can almost feel her fear and wonder.
And what's even more fascinating is that Cody says she's not the only one experiencing these things. She mentions other people witnessing these phenomena too, backing up her claims.
So it's not just her word against everyone else's. There are others who claim to have seen or sensed these entities too.
Exactly. So that begs the question, what do we do with these experiences? Are they hallucinations, some kind of shared delusion, or maybe glimpses into a reality that science just hasn't figured out yet?
My brain wants to jump to the logical explanations, but there's a part of me that's curious too, open to the idea that there might be more to our world than meets the eye.
That's what's so cool about Cody's story. It challenges our assumptions and makes us confront the unknown.
But let's get back to reality for a minute. How does someone who believes in shadow people and guardian angels also function in the world of business and finance? Those seem like totally different worlds.
It's a great question, and I think it shows just how complex people are. We're not one-dimensional. We can hold beliefs that seem to contradict each other, experience different realities, and find meaning in the most unexpected places.
So it's not about choosing one or the other. You could be a rational businesswoman and a spiritual seeker at the same time.
Exactly. And for Cody, maybe those spiritual experiences give her strength and guidance in a world that often feels unpredictable and chaotic.
It's like when you're facing so much hardship, losing Joel, struggling financially, dealing with ADHD, she's found a way to connect to something bigger than herself, something that gives her hope and a sense of purpose.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it's a good reminder that spirituality, no matter how we define it, can be a powerful way to cope, to make sense of suffering and find meaning in the middle of chaos.
But it's not just about passively believing, right? Cody describes these spiritual encounters as actually transformative, even challenging. She talks about a spiritual awakening and a reckoning she's going through.
There's a sense of growth and evolution in her words. It's as if she's using these experiences to face her own dark side, her past traumas, and come out stronger on the other side.
So it's not about escaping from reality, it's about engaging with it on a deeper level, using these spiritual experiences as a catalyst for personal growth.
Exactly. And that adds another layer to Cody's resilience. It suggests that her strength isn't just coming from inside her, but also from a connection to something larger than herself, something that goes beyond everyday problems.
It's a lot to process, especially for those of us who haven't had these kinds of experiences.
I agree, but I think the important thing here is to be open-minded when listening to Cody's story, to consider perspectives that might challenge our own.
Even if we don't believe in shadow people or guardian angels ourselves, we can still recognize how important these experiences are in Cody's life, how they shape her view of the world and influence her actions.
Exactly. And that leads us to a really interesting intersection. We've been talking about Cody's spiritual journey, but we also know that she identifies as transgender.
Oh, right. It's mentioned in some of the notes and hinted at in her hardship letter. It's like another part of her identity is unfolding, adding another layer of complexity to her story.
It makes you wonder how these two parts of her identity, her spirituality and her gender identity, might be influencing each other, shaping how she sees herself and her place in the world.
And it adds another layer of vulnerability to her situation, too. Imagine dealing with all these challenges, losing Joel, the financial strain, the stigma around ADHD, while also struggling with societal expectations and possible discrimination because of her gender identity.
It's a stark reminder that personal struggles are always connected to bigger societal issues. Cody's story isn't just about individual hardship, it's also about the larger forces that shape all our lives.
You're talking about things like transphobia, immigration policies, the lack of support for people with ADHD, all these systemic problems that can make individual struggles so much harder.
Exactly. And when you add those systemic challenges on top of Cody's personal struggles and her spiritual experiences, it creates a picture of a life that's both incredibly difficult and incredibly resilient.
It's like she's trying to navigate a minefield blindfolded, using only her intuition, faith, and sheer willpower to find her way.
And yet, through it all, she keeps going. She keeps fighting for her business, for her home, for her right to be herself in a world that doesn't always make it easy.
It's almost superhuman, don't you think?
Inspiring, for sure. But it also makes you worry. How much longer can she keep this up? When does resilience become just too much to bear?
That's a really important question, and it brings us back to the heart of Cody's story, the love, the loss, and the emotional fallout that's driving her every decision.
We've looked at her spirituality, the complexities of her ADHD, and the societal forces at work. But in the end, it's the love for Joel, the pain of his absence, and the burning desire to make their shared dreams come true that keep Cody going.
It's a love story, a business thriller, and a spiritual journey all rolled into one.
And as we head into the last part of our deep dive, let's keep that in mind. Let's remember that behind all the data and analysis, there's a human heart beating with a love that goes beyond borders and defies explanation.
It's been quite a journey exploring Cody's world, her love for Joel, the hardship of his deportation, the complexities of her ADHD, and those profound spiritual experiences. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm just in awe of her resilience, but also deeply concerned about her well-being.
It's really a testament to the human spirit, you know? Cody's story reminds us that even in the darkest times, there's a spark inside us that keeps us moving forward, pushing us to seek connection, meaning, and purpose.
And I keep coming back to this idea that Cody's love for Joel is at the heart of everything she does. It's like the fuel that's getting her through these incredible challenges.
Yeah, that love is both a source of such immense pain and immense strength, right? It's this wound that won't heal, but it's also the compass guiding her towards a future where they can be together again.
You know, we often talk about love abstractly, but in Cody's case, it's this tangible driving force. It's what pushed her to build a life with Joel, start businesses, create a home filled with love and laughter. And now, it's what's fueling her fight for their future, even when the odds are stacked against her.
Right. It reminds us that love isn't just a feeling, it's something you do. It's about taking action, being committed, and believing in something bigger than yourself.
And for Cody, that love is so deeply intertwined with her spirituality. We've talked about those encounters with shadow people, grays, guardian angels. It's a part of her story some people might struggle to understand, but it's clearly so important to her.
Yeah, it's like those spiritual experiences provide a way for her to understand the world, a way to make sense of the chaos and find comfort when things feel uncertain.
And it's not just blind faith, right? Cody describes these encounters as transformative, pushing her to confront her own inner darkness, to grow and evolve.
It seems like she's using those spiritual experiences to connect more deeply with herself, to tap into a strength that goes beyond her physical reality.
It's inspiring, but it makes you wonder about sustainability. Can she really rely on faith and intuition to navigate something as complex as business and finance?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And ultimately, it's one only Cody can answer. But we can at least acknowledge how powerful her belief system is, how it's helping her to cope with the huge emotional and practical challenges in her life.
It's like a lifeline when you're stuck in a storm at sea, something to grab onto when the waves threaten to pull you under.
Exactly. And, we may not share her beliefs, but we can respect the role they play in her life, how they give her comfort, guidance, and a sense of purpose.
In the end, isn't that what we're all searching for? Something to believe in, something to give us hope, something to help make sense of this world with all its messiness, beauty, and heartbreak.
You're so right. Cody's story, with all its twists and turns and complexities, reminds us that even when facing intense loss and uncertainty, love, resilience, and spiritual growth can guide us through.
It's a story that's going to stay with me for a long time. I hope it stays with you too, our listeners, because sometimes the most profound lessons come from the most unexpected places.
Well said. So, as we close this deep dive into Cody's world, let's remember her story with compassion, curiosity, and a deep appreciation for the human spirit's ability to persevere, to grow, and to love with everything we've got, even when life throws us curveballs.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop believing in the power of the human heart.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story. I hope this podcast has helped you understand my journey, or in some way, connect with your own experiences or those of someone you love. All I've ever cared about is helping those around me and leaving this world just a little better than I found it. If you feel moved to support my family and me, you can find more information at www.aiyoz.com. Here, you'll find links to my GoFundMe. Any contribution helps us stay afloat. My eBay store, I've listed some personal belongings for sale. Hiring me, if you need tax, business, or consulting services, I'm available for work. Visit www.iisitax.com to learn more. If you